Hey, listen, man. We got our hands on this bad boy. A lot of y'all been talking about this one this year, man, and I got a heck of a deal on the Discovery set. So I was like, hey, I want parts in this. A lot of people have been talking up this house and this individual, and it's only right that the scent bubble come in and weigh in on this house. And so I'm glad my intro fragrance today will be one of many since I have a Discovery set. Strap up. A lot of y'all have heard of this one, so we got to go for that ride. All right, welcome to the Scent Bubble. I'm your host for the evening. Today, from the house of Chris Collins, we have the one everybody seems to be making a lot of noise about, and that is Forbidden Apple. And they just say Forbidden Apple, but it says Forbidden Apple Croque Moi. So that seems to be the full name of it. Let's see if I can get you some information real quick about this scent. 4.39 out of 5, only 95 votes. That's really surprising because I got this Discovery set from Sephora, so that seems like there's pretty high-end distribution of this house. So why aren't people talking about this? Perhaps because it was launched in 2025, it still needs some time to populate the Fragranticas and things like that. But nonetheless, out of 100 votes, we have a mass appeal score of 4.39. Forbidden Apple, if we're dealing with Apple, that seems to be more of a, I don't want to say mass appealing note, but more understandable, palatable, and approachable style of note profile that we're getting into. We'll see what the complexity is and all that jazz. This is classified as a floral, fruity gourmand fragrance, unisex. And yeah, this is my first fragrance from the house of Chris Collins. Man, I'm excited to get into this because a lot of y'all have been talking it up. But I will say y'all have been also talking up Goldfield and Banks, and you know how I felt about that. Diving right into the initial impressions of this scent. Nice atomizer. Appreciate that. Thanks, Chris. That was aggressive. That was an aggressive opening, smell-wise. Immediately, I have to say, because I feel like this will take you guys into the room and actually, I treat my reviews as if it's possible for me to make you actually smell what I'm smelling, even though you don't have the fragrance in front of you. So with that being said, I feel like it's important to let you guys know that in, I believe, Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, I get a very that I think of that movie or something, Isn't there like a forbidden apple in that or something? You got the old granny and all that. This kind of has such a fairy tale-ness about it. It feels like the apple that you bite into and then it just shifts the narrative of a story or something like that. The forbidden apple the title is so dead perfect. What you get is essentially a very kind of degular vanilla base. There's like flies in here for some reason. You get like a very vanilla base, but there's florals, spices, and perhaps liquor because it's beyond a spiced apple. It kind of has a futuristic, surrealist fruitiness about it because you get the apple, but then there's this overtone of almost this like herba pura splash. The scent does not smell like herba pura, but I'm just saying this is beyond just a spiced apple scent. 70% of it feels like a spiced, crisp, fresh apple with a dark tint to it, that spiced element. But then in the background, the floralness of it takes me exactly in the realm of like as if I just took a dropper and splashed herba pura at the top of it. Very well done. Caliber wise, what does this juice feel like? It feels like, and I hate to compare this to a house, but I have to. it feels like a step up from like a Mancera caliber fragrance or City Rhythms. Feels a tad bit more quality in terms of the smell profile. There is a bit of, I'm speaking aloud. It's important that I freestyle these because I don't want to, I do want an element of raw first take impression with this scent. So I'm more than comfortable doubling back later and giving a more thorough analysis of it. But you guys seem to feel I'm doing just enough in terms of being, bringing depth to these reviews. But there is a kind of, I don't know if the word is mass appealiness or cheapness. Like, I just said it was a step up for Mancera. So the quality is there. But in terms of like the smell doesn't feel luxurious. It just feels quality enough. Like the backdrop of the backbone of how this fragrance sits down and even the aggressiveness out of the nozzle feels very much, I don't want to say cheap. Cheap's not the word. It just is a plasticness to the scent profile a bit. It's like, it almost feels like this is like half Whole Foods, half Fry's grocery store. And what I mean by that, for those of you guys who don't have the same stores as me in Arizona, it feels like half of it is like very expensive raw material. And then the other half of it is entry level raw materials. And so is that translating to me as like mass appeal and easy to understand just because the scent itself is somewhat juvenile and less complex? Or am I actually smelling an attempt for lesser materials to feel expensive, right? That's what I'm trying to navigate. Nonetheless, I've spoke on this enough. It's a really cool idea for Apple. I do appreciate that. I do get that red apple, not the green, not the tart, the sour, this, all of that. It is a very crisp red apple in the opening. It dries down into a mostly slightly herba pura-y floral vanillic teeny bopness to the apple. The opening felt very much more, a little bit more mature. The dry down feels a little bit immature. But with that being said, let's switch windows here. So red apple, brown sugar, strawberry, pink pepper, cinnamon, white rum, fenugreek, pomegranate, vanilla absolute, Haitian vetiver, and fir. Well, I was going to say balsam or resin, but it just says fir. So I think this fragrance could have really benefited from scaling down a lot of the redness. When you look at vanilla absolute, pomegranate, pink pepper, strawberry, brown sugar, red apple, not to mention cinnamon and white rum, leave that on the shelf. But if I used to just take all of this stuff and just maybe have a few notes less or just a scale down of these elements and a ramp up in vetiver and fir, I feel like, and even rum, because it is rummy, but you don't get that alcoholic bite of rum. It's just like a flat rum, I feel like if they would have scaled up on the wood, the vetiver, the fir, you would have got more of a richness and depth, a slight bit of more maturity, and a less cheap plasticiness to the scent profile. But I feel like many of you would smell this and really dig it. Picture Mancera's, not amber. What's their fragrance? Oh my gosh, what is it? Amberful. Yeah. Picture Amberful if it had a more like vanilla, more of a kind of vanilla rummy backbone to the amber on that fragrance. But I feel like that fragrance is a bit better than this. But it really is just different strokes for different folks. They're both of the same caliber. It's just I feel as though the amber scent is more versatile. I'm very curious. Mancera Amberful. Very curious if there's apple in here. Yuzu. Okay. But see, there's just more. Like it's a citrus amber, right? But then you have a lot more earthiness: pink pepper, nutmeg, amberwood, patchouli, violet leaf, cedar, and moss. That just makes it be a little bit less teeny boppy. I guess what's kind of playing with me here in this scent is that the opening felt very kind of movie-esque and not photoreal, actually photoreal to the animated cartoonish, Snow White-ish vibes, you know, that mystery red apple seduction slash, you know, take a bite of this apple and life changes forever type of thing. But the dry down is much more juvenile to that opening. And, you know, so it kind of feels like the opening is a step above Mancera. The dry down is like dead on Mancera quality. Yeah, I don't know what I feel about this scent. What are they comparing it to? You know, this very much reminds me of Lacoste Red. Does Lacoste Red have red apple in it? They changed the label a long time ago. They used to have the coolest bottle for it, and now they changed it to this, which is just terrible. This fragrance used to be a hit back in the day. Green apple. Interesting. Simple composition, though. Anyway, let's see what they're comparing this to. Yeah, like it's almost like a cross between like Herba Pura, Leighton, and like not red tobacco. I don't know what I'm smelling. I know when I turn the camera off, it's going to hit me like bricks. What's the comparison of this scent? Okay, so they don't have that many comparisons. Again, there was only 95 votes. Yeah, not bad, guys. Let me summarize some things for you. I'm sorry that I'm not as clear with this review. I'm really at a standstill with this scent because I'm really fighting to say that this is a quality scent, because on one hand, I get feelings of, oh man, this is really quality and the blend and the balance is right. But the ingredient quality at times feels juvenile and less quality, like almost even clonish to some extent. But like similar to some of the smells you would smell with like vanillic and anything red, apple, cherry, whatever, as clones somewhat. So it's like I'm fighting as to justify that in my mind. Like, am I smelling like a cheapness of quality, or am I just smelling like a more juvenile, fun, younger person's scent, and it's making me feel like it's cheaper? But I think it's the material choice on this, because the dry down, I want to smell that opening again just for kicks. Yeah, it's like that opening, you get that crispiness of that apple, like, you know, right when you bite into it, you get that green kind of wet, earthy crispness, and then that dry down just feels such flat soda-y to like vanilla cherry, vanilla strawberry type of herba pura floral, like, you know, vacay vibes. And so I wish I could keep that opening, man, because within 10-20 minutes, it just goes to almost like a clone caliber scent to me. The balance is good. Awesome concept. The name and marketing is spot on. I think I'm at, oh, and you guys are going to eat me up in the comments on this. Oh, I got to go with my heart, man. I'm SB. I'm not trying to be your guys' friends. I'm not trying to get approval. I have to just be me. So this may be a case where a lot of you disagree with me, and that's totally fine. You guys are not supposed to agree with me. I want you guys to be the best you and not the best me in your journey. So take this with a grain of salt. For me, I give it a 7. And if I could decimal it, it would be a medium 7, like a 7.5. It's trying to get to an 8. And the main reason is because if I was just taking the opening, it would at least be an 8. But the dry down feels so much flatter and less sophisticated than the first 15 minutes of the scent. And I don't think that's in a positive direction. This is a scent that somebody could clone, and they might not smell the same in the opening. But this is why you have people that say things like, man, if you're willing to get past the first 5 minutes to the dry down, it's the same scent. Like, I feel like clone companies could do that with this. And yeah, but it also could be, I'm a grumpy old man and I don't just want to smell apple and strawberries and brown sugar. I like the green concept, the moss concept that they were building into this scent, the white rum. Whereas, it's like, let me show you guys this real quick and then we'll sign off. Look at all this, right? When you look at all this, the first question I have in my mind is, why is all of this necessary? If the concept is a very crisp, seductive, fun apple, why brown sugar? Why strawberry? Why pomegranate? Why vanilla? Like white rum, cinnamon? Like, this is an overload that translates into a very glue-like material where you can't make out any notes. Like, for me, in the opening, it's very much crisp red apple and maybe some fir back behind it. But then it dries down to essentially kind of like a cinnamony vanilla, and all of this stuff is virtually non-existent in terms of making out the profile. Yeah, I just smell this tons of vanilla and maybe a splash of cinnamon and white rum. Everything else, the strawberry, the pink pepper, the pomegranate, the fenugreek, the fir, the vetiver, it's like gone. Even the apple to an extent has changed. It's almost like at first I bit into the apple and it was real. And then I bit back into the apple and it was made of plastic. So yeah, okay. I think this leans into the fall. In a breeze, this would be great. Fall, winter for sure. Spring, summer nights, 75 and down degrees. It's flirtatious, so date realm. Upscale casual, man, do I want to call this upscale casual? I want to just call it casual. It's casual, dates, flirty, fun, young night dates. I really feel like my men who are 30 and up or in their 20s but love sophistication and like masculineness would feel like this is, it's like, if you're not a fan of fragrances like Herba Pura, Leighton, Wajan to an extent, not Sun-Kissed Island, but like your French Rivieras, your Red Tobaccos, your Prada Les Parfums, stuff in that realm. This will not, it'll definitely, impress you in the opening, but then the dry down will feel very much, there's even like a holiday potpourri spiciness going on with this that I don't like. That's just, it's almost like the opening is so special, but the dry down is just drifting away into this like fun, flirty, super casually plastic bimbo sweet thing. So it's a 7 for me. If I had to decimal it, maybe the best I would give it is like a 7.5. I'm being very critical. Like, maybe many of you would give it like an 8 at least. I don't think you could go much higher than that. But I'm very intrigued by this house to see if the development from opening to dry down has that juvenile thing going with the other scents. I'm hoping it's just particular to this. And if it is, then that tells me that this was intentional and it's not for me. But if it does consistently do that, then I think it comes down to the perfumer and his style and his material choice and his experience with the materials, in terms of like what they're going for as a house, not necessarily whether the perfumer is good or bad. We're critiquing art. So anyways, guys, alternatives to this, I challenge you to smell Lacoste Red and Nautica Voyage and Amberful from Mancera and see if you don't like those more. I know that sounds crazy, right? Nautica Voyage, Lacoste Red. Start with Amberful. Put Amberful next to this, and I think you have a similar concept, more of a Four Seasons piece, probably cheaper. Well, I've heard Chris Collins is an affordable house. Let me double check real quick on the price. Let's see what just Lucky Scent is retailing it. 50 mil retails at $175. And let me see if there's discounted prices on Chris Collins. I love his price of his discovery sets. I mean, that's just awesome. I'm not seeing too much discounting going on these scents. Yeah, I'm not seeing much discounting. 175 for 50 mil on this? No. No. I can't, guys. I just can't. Yeah, I definitely can't. No. Amberful's not going to smell exactly like this because this has a couple other things going on. Some herba pura-iness, some holiday spice going on, some plastics going on with it. But I think Amberful is just this idea, but Four Seasons, a little bit higher quality, a little bit more, less juvenile, etc. So that's my main recommendation for it. But yeah, at that price point, I just feel like this feels a bit juvenile in quality and in scent profile. You guys, I can sense the tension in the air. I'm going to make a lot of people upset this year, but definitely get your nose on that scent because a lot of people say amazing things about it. Not my tea, but I hope I gave you guys some great feedback on it that will be helpful. Do I think it's unisex? Absolutely. Yeah, and I answered everything else. Like, comment, subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell. Talk to me. I do talk back. This was my first introduction to the house of Chris Collins. He has my respect for sure. I just want to see what kind of caliber of house this is in my mind with stuff that I've smelled before to see what type of house they are and how I may or may not be able to recommend them to you guys in terms of what this house is bringing to the table in quality, in concept, and in originality. So the title to the opening is awesome. The back half is where I would say needs some homework. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this. Talk to me. I do talk back. I'm going to throw 2 videos up that you may like based off what you've been searching for. Sound off in the comments. Is SB bugging on Forbidden Apple? Probably. But hey, I'm me. And I hope you're you. And have a blessed night.